Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I'm sitting here drinking my blue drink, and that blue drink is methylene blue, by the way. Now, I want to tell you, everybody, there are some major potential black swans that are happening, and I'm not talking about tariffs. I'm talking about the potential crypto black swans. Ask yourself this question often. Of everyone in crypto, who has always been the most transparent of anyone? And because of that transparency, they've been attacked more than any company in crypto and any digital asset in crypto. That would be Ripple, and then XRP. The transparency has driven, in my opinion, the people who aren't transparent, that are trying to hide things, it's driven them crazy. Because they started wrong, folks. The reason I'm so into what Ripple has done is because they started the way adults would start. And I've never believed that in a market like that, anybody could ultimately win that's trying to hide things. And so in the group, we're gonna talk about that stuff. But before we talk about that, I'm gonna And it's very clear to see how this story ends. And I'm going to talk about how I think this story ends or could end in the group. To join the group, you can go to daixrp.com to get the video and the extended video with no commercials. You can join through the Patreon there at daixrp.com, or you can click the join button right here below any of the YouTube videos to join if you'd rather join through YouTube. Less than the cost of a cup of coffee. Here we go. All right, remember when I said that we were going to that we could have a whipsaw? Well, we're seeing the whipsaw, and the reason we're seeing the whipsaw, I'll show you in 1 second. It's not just in the crypto market, it's in the stock market as well. This is the first thing you need to understand, and I said this, the markets are not pricing in the whipsaw when everything is negotiated, and all of a sudden the U.S. has a new income stream it should have had decades ago. So here's the way the playing field's laying out that he's trying to level, by the way. Everybody is interested in negotiating. Europe wanted to retaliate, and China wanted to retaliate. Europe decided to change their mind.
We stand ready to negotiate with the United States. Indeed, we have offered 0 for 0 tariffs for industrial goods, as we have successfully done with many other trading partners, because Europe is always ready for a good deal. So we keep it on the table. But we are also prepared to respond through countermeasures and defend our interests.
Okay. So now what's going on is they're saying Trump is considering a 90-day pause on all tariffs except China, who's the only one that made the wrong decision and decided to try to fight back and react in an unfair way, in Trump's opinion and mine. So the S&P 500 shot up almost 8% in response. Crypto shot up. But the point is, you can see how this is all temporary. Now, as I'm saying all this, I'm watching CNBC, and it says White House says 90-day pause is fake news. So that may be, now the markets are kind of going down. But the point in all of this is, folks, these are negotiations. And you're going to start to see the dominoes fall where things are worked out. And it's literally impossible for the tariff, for it not to work out in America's favor because they're the ones that have been taken advantage of and charging less tariffs than everybody else was charging us. So it's like you can't lose. You can only get more income than you had coming in the end of all these negotiations. Now, let's listen to an adult conversation. Jim Rickards is one of the smartest guys in finance, in my opinion, and he gives you a little history lesson. Don't be swayed by all these clowns out there that are trying to tell you how irrational this is and Trump doesn't know what he's doing and all this. Here's the truth from a historical point of view.
Trump's putting all these tariffs on. It's the best economic policy you can think of. It's extremely good for the U.S. I get in this debate all the time. I'll expand on that a little bit, but when I have this debate and I explain to people why tariffs are good, they say, for the United States, they go, well, yeah, but Jim, but this is really going to be bad for Vietnam and China and Malaysia. And I say, yeah, that's their problem. Our job is to make America great again. Tell President Xi to make China great again if he wants to, let him figure out policies that actually work other than over borrowing, real estate boom, and corruption and skimming and a lot else. So our job is to take care of America, and Keir Starmer can make the UK great again. That's all.
That's a highly questionable statement, but yes.
Yeah. But that's all fair. So looking at it from the American perspective, what we're saying is a return to something called the American system. It was invented by Alexander Hamilton in 1790. His problem was, first Treasury Secretary, we had revolutionary war debt and state debt that had kind of hung over from before the creation of the United States. And one of the first issues facing Congress is, what do we do about all this debt? And so Congress said, well, that's easy. We'll just default as the American way. And Hamilton said, no, we'll borrow more, use that money to pay off the old debt, and then we'll just keep borrowing and just roll over the debt. And that was the creation of the government securities market. It's been going strong for 230 years. You can call it a Ponzi, but it works. But then you had to finance the government as well. And that's where tariffs come in. We had tariffs from the start. Alexander Hamilton and George Washington took a field trip out to Passaic, New Jersey to show Washington these waterfalls. And they were like, this is perfect. This can, you had water wheels and looms and powering industry. But we need tariffs to protect us from primarily England, because they were the leaders in that technology at the time. From 1790 to 1962, the United States grew economically, geographically, technologically, telephone, telegraph, railroads, steam. I'm not saying we invented every one of those things, but we certainly applied them and invented quite a few of them. The greatest invention of all time economically was indoor plumbing. 50% of humanity spent 70% of their time fetching water for 5,000 years. All of a sudden, women were free to do more productive things. So it's still a little more powerful than the internet. But my point is, that whole regime, and there were very strong advocates, starting, as I mentioned, with Alexander Hamilton and George Washington, Henry Clay, who was not president but was a powerful senator, John Quincy Adams, Abraham Lincoln, William McKinley, Calvin Coolidge, Dwight Eisenhower, all the way through, they all advocated tariffs. Now, the rap on tariffs, the Democrats ran this in the 2024 presidential campaign, and unfortunately it kind of stuck. So you have to explain it to people. They go, well, tariffs are a sales tax on the American people. That was their statement. So you have a certain good at a certain price, and you put a 20% tariff on it, the price is going to go up 20%. Sales tax on the American people and inflationary. Both of those statements are wrong. Here's why. In a tariff transaction, you have three parties, could be more, but at least three. You have the producer-exporter in China, Vietnam, etc. You have the importer, who's a wholesaler or distributor, and then you have the consumer. So we are going to put 20% tariffs on things. That is going to raise the price, at least initially. Who actually pays the tariff? Well, it's the importer, the person who takes the goods off the ship at the Port of Los Angeles. Has got to write a check to the Treasury for 20% of the value of those goods. But who pays it economically? It is split between the producer and the importer, or it's completely pushed back down the supply chain to the producer. So the importer says, hey, I just paid 20% more. You need to lower your price 20%. So that when you, or whatever the number is, so that when you throw on the tariff, it comes out about the same. Or the importer will eat it in the form of reduced margins or profits. The original exporter, the producer, will eat it in terms of reduced profits or margins. The one party that does not eat the tariff is the consumer. There is no price increase. Trump's
Okay, that's a great explanation of how things really work. Look at this: zero hedge gold, silver, reverse losses soar to session highs. And then Jim Rickard says, here's the deal on gold prices and stock crashes. At first, gold drops alongside stocks as weak hands puke hedge funds sell to raise cash for margin calls on stocks. You sell what you can. Then the strong hands show up and the price bounces back. That's happening now. And then look at this from Gold Telegraph. Fort Knox question, prelude to a new system. In 1944, the world's most powerful leaders gathered in Bretton Woods to discuss the future and write rules for a new global monetary order. There was one critical detail many forgot. The U.S. controlled the lion's share of the world's gold, granting it power to influence outcome and define the system. Fast forward to today, President of the United States is calling for an audit of the gold in the Fort Knox. Current Treasury Secretary, he says he has been called a gold bug throughout his career. With the trade war now in full swing, change is certainly in the air. According to top economic advisor to the U.S. President, more than 50 countries have approached the United States to begin trade talks. Are we getting closer to the Bretton Woods moment? We very well could be. The U.S. Treasury Secretary previously said, we will need a grand global economic reordering, and I'd like to be a part of it. I've studied this. Last week, Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, explained in an interview why gold remains so interesting, and also pointed out that the entire global trading system was once anchored to gold until Nixon took us off the U.S. off the standard. The world is shifting quietly but unmistakably. Nations are accumulating gold, questioning old alliances, and preparing for a future no longer tethered, no pun intended, to the previous rules. What once seemed unshakable is now under review. From Fort Knox to the foundations of international trade, we've seen this before. Power consolidates, confidence erodes, and a new system emerges, often borne out in the spotlight but behind closed doors. The question now isn't if we're approaching another Bretton Woods moment. The question is, who will define it this time? Great question. And then here's Trump's I can't remember this guy's position. Assistant to the President, Director of Trade Manufacturing Policy.
The first rule, particularly for the smaller investors out there, you can't lose money unless you sell. And right now, the smart strategy is not to panic, just stay in, because we are going to have the biggest boom in the stock market we've ever seen under the Trump policies. We will find a bottom in this market quickly. We will hit 50,000 on the Dow easily by the end of this term. The first rule, particularly for the
And then we have this. Trump tweeted this today. United States has a chance to do something that should have been done decades ago. Don't be weak. Don't be stupid. Don't be a panicking. A new party based on weak and stupid people. Be strong, courageous, and patient, and greatness will result. And then this morning, I think I'm going to give Mark Uyeda the benefit of the doubt, but I asked here, did he not get the memo on XRP being declared by a judge not to be a security? But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here, and I'm assuming he's not saying, including XRP in what he says here, because they're wrapping up the lawsuit and he can't comment until that's over.
And do you think that also encompasses crypto? So if somebody were to decide that they were going to sell out of Ethereum or Bitcoin or of XRP or something else, would that come under your jurisdiction?
Well, I know my predecessor, Chairman Gensler, made it pretty clear that Ethereum and Bitcoin are not securities that fall within our purview. So if it involved either of those two, it would not be insider trading because it does not involve the purchase or sale.
What about an ETF of that?
So an ETF would be a security, and then one would have to, again, go through and take a look and whether or not they've satisfied the various elements that we need to do to bring an insider trading case.
Alrighty, and then look at this. Almost like someone gave you this golden entry level on XRP in their free newsletter this weekend. This is from Crypto Insight UK. The golden entry level. DAI did a golden entry last night and this morning. I got up at 4:30 this morning to make my golden entry, and I made it at the lows of the last 24 hours too. It felt oh so good. Okay, remember, I'm about to look. Some people are calling this a potential crypto black swan. But what I'm about to cover is what's coming in a good way, but also I've just always felt like the lies and the things being hidden had to be resolved before you could really, this crypto, the regulations come in and this crypto could really thrive. It's never made any sense to me, so many things, And I'm going to talk about those in the group too. So you go to daixrp.com to join through the Patreon, or you can click on the join button below all my YouTube videos if you'd rather join there. It's the cost of a cup of coffee. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, tell your friends and family. Here we go.